Good evening, my dear children. Welcome to the English class. Are you safe at home? Stay safe at home and sanitize your hands frequently, okay? Hope you all are ready for today's class. Aren't you? Yes, very good. What we discussed in the previous English class? Yes, we went through the first part of the story, How Far is the River? Now let me ask you some questions. Where did the boy want to go? Yes, the boy wanted to go to the river. What prevented the boy from seeing the river? Very good. The thickly forested mountain prevented the boy from seeing the river. My next question is, what did the boy hear about the river from the villagers? The boy heard about the fish and rocks in the river. Students, hope you got an idea about the first part of the story. Am I right? Now all of you take your English text and take page number 10. I'll read from this paragraph. All of you look into the text. The path was steep and the boy had to run most of the time. It was a dizzy, winding path and he slipped once or twice. The hill was covered with lush green ferns. The trees were wound in creepers, and a great wild dahlia suddenly reared its golden head from the leaves and ferns. Soon the boy was in the valley, and the path straightened out and rose. He met a girl who was coming from the opposite direction. She held a long curved knife with which she had been cutting grass. The bangles she wore made music when she moved her hands, and it was as though the hands spoke a language of their own. How far is it to the river? Asked the boy. The girl had obviously never been to the river, or she may have been thinking of another one because she said 20 miles without any hesitation. The boy laughed and ran down the path. A parrot suddenly screeched, flew low over his head, a flash of red and green. The bird disappeared amongst the trees. Students, now all of you read it silently and identify the difficult words. Now let's discuss the difficult words and their meanings. Steep, rising or falling sharply. Dizzy means unable to balance. Winding path means curved path. Lush, growing thickly and strongly. Ferns means green flowerless plants. Here you can see the picture of ferns. Creepers means plants that grow around another plant. Reared means raised its head. Obviously, clearly. Hesitation, doubt. Screeched means gave a harsh, high-pitched cry. Now I'll give you the explanation. All of you listen attentively. So the path or the way was very steep and the boy had to run many times. He slipped once or twice. The hill was covered with green flowerless plants or ferns, and the trees were covered with creepers and a big dahlia. Dahlia is a bright colored flower. Immediately, the boy reached the valley, and in the valley, he saw a girl coming from the opposite direction. She carried a long curved knife which she used to cut grass. When the girl moved her hand, the bangles she wore made music as though they were speaking to each other. On seeing the girl, the boy asked her how far it is to the river. The girl had no idea about the distance to the river. But immediately she said 20 miles without any doubt. The boy laughed on hearing the words of the girl and he continued his journey. Suddenly he saw a parrot which was flying over his head, and the parrot was crying in high pitch. Then the bird disappeared among the trees. Students, hope you all understood the explanation. Am I right? Now all of you take page number 11. I'll give you a model reading. At that time, all of you look into the text. A trickle of water came from the hillside and the boy stopped to drink. The water was cold and sharp but very refreshing. However, it seemed to have the effect of making him more thirsty. The sun was striking his side of the hill and the dusty path became hotter, the stones scorching the boy's feet. He was sure he had gone halfway. He had walked for over an hour. Presently, he saw another boy ahead of him, driving a few goats down the path. How far is the river? He asked. The village boy smiled in a friendly way and said, Oh, not far, just round the next hill and straight down. The boy, feeling hungry, unwrapped his loaf of bread and broke it in halves, offering one portion to the village boy. They sat on the hillside and ate in silence. Students, all of you read it silently and try to identify the difficult words. Did you identify the difficult words? Okay. Now, shall we discuss those words and their meanings? Let's go. Trickle means a thin flow of water. Here you can see the picture of trickle. Refreshing means giving freshness. Scorch, very hot. Unwrap means open or unfold. I'll give you the explanation. All of you listen carefully. Water was flowing from the hillside and the boy stopped to drink on seeing this. The water was very cold and refreshing. Refreshing means giving freshness, which made him more thirsty. Was the boy really thirsty? No, the boy was not really thirsty, but the cold and refreshing water that came from the hillside made him feel more thirsty. The sun was burning hot and the dusty path also became hotter. He was sure that he had gone halfway because he had walked for 1 hour. At that time, he saw another boy who was walking with his goats. The boy asked him, How far is the river? The village boy smiled and replied, It's not very far, just round the next hill and straight down. At that time, the boy felt hungry and he unwrapped his loaf of bread. He broke the bread into halves and gave one portion of the bread to the village boy. They sat on the hillside and ate the bread in silence. Students, did you understand the explanation? Okay, hope you all understood today's class. Am I right? Students, all of you read the text very well. I will ask you some questions in the online class. So, see you in the next online class. Thank you, dear children.